Hey everyone. So today I'm going to be sharing with you a few clips from a recent live Q&A I did with Ginny Sackett. If you're new to the show, you don't know me or Ginny, I'll have a bio at the end. So all you really need is the context is for this first question that's being asked by a parent. It was around if we have any recommendations on books or getting into movies for 3 to 6 year olds, and that kind of led to a discussion about screen time. So that's the first one coming up, and Ginny gets right to it. So here we go.
Good. Okay. I just did want to make one comment though. And this is not new today. It's maybe increased, but there's always a lot of pressure on parents to bring in the media. In my era as a parent, it was purely television. That was the only screen available. But and now it's really expanded, and even what you could see on a screen as entertainment is expanded. And I'm just going to be upfront. My bias is the less screen time of any type, the better. That can change as the child gets older, but children and real interaction, real dynamics. I mean, I would take a child to a live play that's designed for children readily, but because it's real people and you feel the energy, but just try to avoid screens and don't fall into that trap. We finally, my husband and I, we had 5 children that we were raising, and we just finally got rid of the television, period. We just told them it doesn't work anymore. And it was hard at first, and we got a lot of, actually, most of the blowback we got was from other parents. Our children did not suffer culturally. They would go to their friend's house and watch stuff.
Pick it up.
I couldn't stop that. But it's more important that we were doing other things. It's what you're doing, and that also goes back to the 80s. It's not so much even what's happening on the screen, it's what you're not doing, what the child is not doing while sitting mesmerized by a screen. So just, feel confident, and definitely not Barbie yet. But I think about 8 or 9, it might be a great conversation piece, but definitely not now.
And so what I'll say is two quick things. One is the television thing that's pretty hilarious, because I was just listening to some guy and he was talking about, our focus even as adults. And he said, when somebody set up his internet and telephone at his house, the lady said, oh, well, you get free cable. And he said, no, I don't want it. She's like, boy, what do you mean you don't want it? You get all this free cable. He's like, do you know what the cost of that cable is to me? And she's like, no, it's free. And he says, there's no television in this house. You're not understanding me. The cost to my life of me sitting there watching this thing, and I'm not doing other stuff. So I think it's a more broad idea about getting out in the world. But I'm happy that we're having this whole event, because Ginny, it's like, this is the kind of thing that Ginny and I would be on the phone talking. So I agree with Ginny. Generally, we want to stay away from screen time. But what I found, because now I have my own child who's almost a year and a half. And sometimes, let's say we're reading a book about an animal, and we've got an animal in front of us. I might have stickers of the animal, real life animal. It looks very real. In the book, it looks very real. And I know I've got my phone that has an even more realistic image of this animal. And I'm not, too concerned about showing him the image of the animal, or even walking. I don't watch shows. We don't watch, but I do enhance what he cannot see. But generally, I do agree with Ginny that if we have a choice, I'm going out to see the tiger somewhere near me, But if the tiger's not there, I want to get as realistic as possible without just sitting him in front of a TV on his own. This is me and him together, So well, Ginny, I don't know what you think.
I love that. I love that comment, because there are things that we can benefit from screens, and it's really making that choice. Hi, Felipe and Ingrid. It's making that choice and making that assessment. What's going to really benefit my child? Where does the role of this go in? As opposed to, back in the 80s, the television was called the plug-in drug. And that was not an accident. I mean,
like
the screens can be very drug-like for young children.
Plug-in drug. That's great.
The whole book of that. There's a whole book called The Plug-in Drug.
Man, that's good. Okay,
Did that
cool.
help, Felipe?
All right.
Yeah, that was very helpful. I really like that quote, Jesse, because one more comment from my side. one of the things that you mentioned also in your podcast is bettering ourselves as adults. And my comment about fiction is also the adults section. We have this fascination as society with not reality, and reality can be so much fun. And I started thinking as an adult for myself how there is this urge to not look at the real things. So
Yeah.
that was very helpful, all those comments, so I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And it's very, thinking about it's very possible that some of that desires, because us as kids, all we were raised on is Disney, and fantasy. So, now we are adults that want fantasy. So.
I wanted to ask because I feel like we found a really good school with Montessori now, and I can finally see like the benefits. And unfortunately, it only goes up to 6 years old or something like that. And now I'm starting to think like, okay, we're doing all of these so great. And then what?
What happens? Yeah.
So I don't know what you have to say about that, or if like really good schools in South Florida, particularly in the Miami area, or like what to do if that's not an option, and like what we can do at that age to like what changes and how we can continue to have that fascination for life, and just in general to keep her grounded and living more on a more simple Montessori life.
So Ginny, maybe you can, because
like a public school.
Oh yeah, I can talk about South Florida, but we'll do it offline because I don't think most people are going to be right in South Florida. But Ginny, maybe you can. I know you've probably had this question thrown at you
Oh
for
my.
years, so maybe
Well,
you can
and
just hop
also
on.
even as a teacher, not just as a parent,
Yeah,
but as
that's
a
right.
teacher, to work with a child for 3 or 4 years and then know that their options are really going to change. And it is true, there's some really interesting things to be watchful for, and it's very simple. It's things like, what do you mean I can't go to the bathroom when I need to? Because in Montessori, obviously, you take care of your personal needs when you feel them. And you don't have to raise your hand. And then the other one, which we heard just recently from our 6-year-old granddaughter who just transitioned into public school from Montessori. And she's like, why can't I just do what I want when I want to do it? Why do I have to do it when everybody else is doing it, or, some version of that? So there's definitely things to be aware of. I don't know that it's really easy to prepare them, but it's more like to just observe and see how they respond. I think talking to the teacher, if they're a little bit open to talking about it, and just say, this is what my child has been, and you can even use words like daycare or whatever, her particular early childhood environment. If sometimes even talking about Montessori, unfortunately, to a teacher, they have they have some perceptions already. And then to just really stay connected to your child, and you can see what they're experiencing, help them find what they do like about it, and help her adapt and try to find what it is in there. And then in the time that you're with her, you supplement, so to speak, like you keep with the reality based or the science based or the world. 6-year-olds want the whole world. It's just like they are also ready for morality and what's fair, and so it's just like her better than anyone. And so observing and seeing how she responds, and then being her advocate. A lot of times what happens is that these days, and this is not the truth when in the 80s so much, but these days, if a child comes in from Montessori, they're usually really ready for literacy, if not already writing and reading, and that is a huge bonus as far as a lot of teachers would be concerned, and a lot of environments would be very positive. So just even helping your child enhance the positives they're bringing from that, rather than having them fight against it. So I don't know, Jesse, you want to add anything there?
So I would say two things. One, I just even want to get a shout out to, because my wife is running a little small schoolhouse, and two of the parents drive 45 minutes to the school every day, which is insane to me. I think it's like, even as a parent myself, I don't think I can handle it. Okay. But what I want to say, to somebody like Felipe and Ingrid, I think you'll find a school. So that's the thing. But to most parents, when 6 years old goes, they're not finding an elementary Montessori school. I mean, it's very sad, but that's just the reality. So I'm not exaggerating when I say, I think you should seriously think through, do you want to be living where you're living? I know I know, Ginny, you're going to be like, but be very careful, because like whatever school you're sending your child to, that's their day. That's 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. So I want to say that, but then follow up with, the most important person in a child's life is their parents. It's not the teacher. It's not the school. So I don't care if you go to your child goes to a horrible school. If you are solid parents who are doing your work, as Ginny's saying, talking with them, open relationships, you can do so much. So if you are in a situation where there is no Montessori school, there's a lot to talk about with that, and we can't, go in depth here. But the one thing I would say is, kind of just what Ginny's saying. As parents, you guys are going to be the ones that picking up the weight, and just, you got to keep that respectful relationship and enjoy it to the full extent. But there is no easy answer to that, because ultimately I would move. I know it sounds radical, but I'm serious that we're not too concerned with moving. So it's like, I would leave. I mean, that's a lot of years of your child's life and your life, because you're going to be miserable. They're going to come home, homework. I hate my teacher. She does this. Yeah. It's just going to be a miserable experience for everybody.
Yeah.
So get out of Dodge.
I'm just going to add two things. One is I absolutely agree that what, Jesse is all kinds of things to be alert to. As a parent who had to remove my 5 children from Montessori through, starting, the youngest one was going into kindergarten. The other one, the oldest, was going into 5th grade. And that was a very hard decision, but it's because I was a Montessori teacher and I wasn't paid enough to keep them all in private school, unfortunately. But what I will say is, we were able to do what I described, working with them, seeing what they're doing, advocating for them, and then, supplementing their lives, so to speak. But the other thing that Jesse just reminded me of is what I tell parents who would ask me this question. And it was basically, the best school in the world cannot help a child from a dysfunctional family. As well as, but a highly functional family can help their child navigate even a fairly, what we might call a dysfunctional school. So it's just have that faith, what Jesse was saying.
I'm already so happy we did this, because you guys, this is why I wanted to do a Q&A with 2 people, because you see what happens is, like, if I just gave my answer, or if Ginny just gave her answer and the other person wasn't there, you just lose so much. So I'm already stoked. So thank you guys for being here. So we got a question from Kez Comstock. So my question, how do you view the Montessori classroom and home as similar, and what are the differences? How do we support our child at home? So that's the, how do I support our child at home? And there's a little bit of added info in there. So awesome that you asked that. So thanks, Ginny. Yeah, let's hop on it if you want.
Well, we could do this, and and then we could do all kinds of workshops comprehensive on this. If you're in working with a Montessori school already, I would say, go to the parent education, talk with your teacher, stay in that communication, and see what kinds of advice or recommendations they might give, because they know you, they know your child. So there's a couple of things to explore. One is to think about what Montessori is. And Montessori is all about creating positive conditions for the child to grow and develop in. And those conditions are based on understanding what is happening for a child at a particular age or stage of development. And how do we create those conditions? We prepare the environment with that in mind. And you can do that with your home. You can think about what kinds of things happen in your home. And in Montessori, we do things like we create routines so that the child understands, oh, when I arrive in the morning, this is what I do with my things. This is where they go. I know how to greet my teacher. I know how to greet, so whatever it is, routines. And we can do that with our children at home. We can help them to see like, oh, well, how do we, what do we do for dinner? How do we sit? Now, a lot of this depends on, again, that the family is setting up, has their own routines. But you decide, how can we organize things so that my child can be engaged, but also have like free time, not just, you sort of balance it off. And I found it was things like, sitting down and planning the meals for this week, or, and like making a list, let them see you making that list, maybe even going to the store together to buy the things. And then when it's time to cook, how can the child be engaged in the prepping? So whatever you're doing, finding ways to engage the child. This can be very challenging for the parents, especially today. If we're talking about, for example, limiting screen time for children, that might be the same for us. Maybe we're not scrolling through our phones while we're with our children. We're doing other things. We're actually doing things that are engaging. Household work. I mean, it's time to do the laundry. How can my child be a part of that, or my children be a part of that? So bringing that kind of idea of, how do we want to live here? What are the tasks? What needs to happen? How can my child be engaged in that, rather than just, I need to get them out of the way so I could do it, or I have to do it when they're asleep. So creating routines, I think, is a great place to start. And then, looking for ways to get them out of doors. And it doesn't have to mean you're in nature. It's just whatever is outside your door, going for walks, going the same walk, through the seasons. How do things change? How do things different? Engaging, just being together, seeing how they respond. So that kind of outdoor stuff. And then don't worry about boredom. Boredom is just nature's way of telling you need to find something more interesting to do. And that's what I would tell my children. So, oh, you're bored? Well, let's look around. Let's see what we have here. What could you be doing? And, it's just, bring them in. So anyway, and also like personal care, I think of like being able to do personal care for themselves, being as independently engaged as possible. That would be bringing Montessori principles into the home. It's a very superficial start, but anyway, Jesse, what do you got?
Yeah, no, that's good, Ginny. And I mean, as Ginny said, this could be a whole, series of lectures to go through this, but I think I'll give one quick practical thing and then more the broadest, I think, or one of the broadest. So one quick practical, when COVID happened, this question became a reality very quickly, right? So parents were like, well, what do we do? And my wife did something really awesome. So, and I just thought it was a good example of something practical. It's, some parents at home were like, well, how do we do the math? How do we do like, and as Ginny was just saying, like some of that real life stuff. So she had said, why don't you go in the closet, tell your child to go in the closet and get all the t-shirts and count how many t-shirts do we have? There's math. There's
Yeah,
math.
yeah.
And then separating out, well, where are the long sleeves versus the short sleeves? So they're getting length. So these are the kind of things that are practical life, but also you're involving math, you're involving measurement. So just those type of thinking outside the box, as opposed to, I have to bring the bead chains into the house. You know what I'm saying? So that's just a quick practical. The broad, I think, is, Maria Montessori said, the real preparation for education is a study of oneself. So if you are a Montessori teacher and you were trained well, or you just developed it yourself, your biggest work is really on yourself. So parents might not be doing that as much as teachers do, or some teachers might not be doing it enough. But so I would just highly recommend the problems that you're having with your child might be reflective in the problems that you might be having with yourself. And I'm not pushing it off on all you guys. It's the same with me, as a teacher and with a child. So Ginny gave a real simple example. If you're worried about your child on the screen all day, it's, check yourself, look in the mirror. How often are you on the screen? And then there was, I was reading a book recently on Magda Gerber, and she had a good quote. I know Magda Gerber, in many ways is in line with Maria Montessori and a lot, but she said, what'd she put it? Oh, what parents teach is themselves as models of what is human by their moods, their reactions, their facial expressions and actions. These are the real things parents need to be aware of and of how they affect their children. So for Montessori teachers, a lot of how we are in the classroom is modeling. So for you guys at home to do a lot of Montessori would just be modeling. If your child's, blowing his nose all over his sister, his brother, you, okay, well, can we do a lesson on how we blow the nose? I mean, hopefully you're not blowing your nose all over your wife, your sibling, and so forth. But that's kind of a quick, and then again, I think it would take lectures and lectures to go through this in depth. But Jenny, and you want to add anything else before we go to the next question, or?
I know, I just feel like it can sound very demanding to say you have to look at yourselves, but I think that that's the Montessori approach. Is the adult who tends to be the biggest obstacle, unfortunately, and that's in the classroom as well as out on the street or anywhere in between. It's the adults who can often be the biggest obstacle to a child really fulfilling their developmental needs. And so I just thinking,
do the work.
Yeah, I like the example of the screen. Like, if you're going to be talking to someone on the phone, put it on speaker so your child can hear that you are speaking to someone else. Just like when phones started, I was really struck by how children would just walk around, blah, blah, blah. And it was like they were just imitating what they had seen their parents doing, or people on the street just walking around, just going, I don't know, and but and then they're only hearing one half of a conversation. So what's that doing to language development? So if you're going to talk to someone, let it be on the speaker so your child can hear you are speaking and responding to someone. That's just an example of a modest way that we can just adapt ourselves a little bit to the fact that our child's there.
All right, those are the clips from the live Q&A we did. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, definitely like, subscribe, share, do what you got to do to get this show out there to more and more people. It's much appreciated. If there's a question that you have as a parent or as a teacher that was not answered here, I mean, we didn't answer everything, only a few questions, reach out to me, Jess McCarthy at MontessoriEducation.com. That's not my email address. That's my name. And then that's where you can reach me. There's a contact form, I think, on there. I did promise a bio. So here's actually Ginny. Let me get her to speak for herself. Here you go.
So I'm Ginni Sackett. I live in the Pacific Northwest in Portland, Oregon. And I'm a Montessori parent. I was a Montessori teacher of children ages 3 to 6. I was a Montessori trainer. I am a Montessori trainer for adults working with 3 to 6-year-olds. And my most recent job was Director of Pedagogy for the Association Montessori Internationale, located in Amsterdam. And I'm exploring what retirement means when you have this kind of a background. And I'm really excited to do podcasts and talk to people. I've always, my favorite part of this work has always been just talking to people and communicating. So here we are.
And again, I'm Jess McCarthy. If you want to look me up, head to MontessoriEducation.com. Ginny and I are going to do another Q&A. So if you are interested in asking your questions live, definitely join us. And that's going to be, let me check that out. It's October 10th at 4:30 p.m. That's a Tuesday, 4:30 p.m. Pacific time, 7:30 Eastern. If you want to be notified when that happens, get an email sent directly to you on the day of the event, head over to the site, and then the Montessori Education email list. Just ensure you are subscribed and on that. It's free. And I think it's like once a month or maybe twice a month I send an email. So get on that. Big thanks to Ginny, as always, for hopping on, and to you listeners out there. Appreciate you. It's good to have you on board, and adios until next time.